Hey, this is Amy Fox with Work in Progress Texas and the creator of the Bloom program by WhipTX. And I am documenting my calorie deficit. I have not been in a calorie deficit or trying to be in a calorie deficit for over 14 months. And through about 3 weeks ago, I started that journey. And I think it really kind of helpful to get back into something like this because when you're helping clients lose weight and feel better, and there's lots more to it than just the fat loss or the aesthetics, but sometimes you can forget a little bit of what those challenges are when you're so used to your own routines or your methods, or because a lot of the times when I'm helping clients, I'm probably in a different path than them, or I would say this does not to sound like bad, but like I'm in a sense ahead because I've been studying it, trying it, doing it, all those things, right? And so my clients, I like to meet them where they're at. And this deficit is really helpful to remind myself, like, the challenges that come with it. And that's exactly the purpose of this video, is to really continue that journey week by week. And I take notes and I have epiphanies, and I think I've got some good details to share with you. And then of course I want to share you some updates too, just so that I'm being transparent about what this journey looks like. Um, when I kickstarted this YouTube back up, my first story was basically kind of talking about my metabolic restoration period, where I really focused on my routines and habits, and I got sober. And that sobriety was a really big point for me in my health journey, physical, spiritual, whatever, just everything. And now that that's out of my life, I am seeing that it's so much easier to accomplish things that I've been wanting to accomplish, or I've been joining to, or have been desiring to accomplish. And there are still many challenges that I deal with day to day, but now that that's out of my life, I can also see how it's easier for me to be in a calorie deficit too, because I don't have that dynamic of over consuming food or over consuming calories, which is what the alcohol did for me every single time. And on the grand scheme of things, like, the reality is it does make fat loss harder, no matter if you have a little bit or a lot, and it does make building muscle harder too. So if you truly, it's not that we can't do life without alcohol. I do have clients that absolutely still drink and have that as a part of their routine or their method, but they have learned how to navigate around that, how to control that, what drinks to order instead in this period of time, and really just if they, how serious they are about hitting those specific goals, how much are they willing to kind of cut back or limit. And ideally in a fat loss phase, it would be great if you didn't drink at all. But again, that's not the point of this video. At this point, I'm 3 weeks into the calorie deficit, and I just want to continue to document that journey and how it's looking, the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations. And I actually had something that happened this week, which I was totally stoked to share with you. Over the weekend, I went to a potluck, and I basically went into the evening with a good amount of calories left over. I kind of focused on protein during the day. I had about 700-ish calories in the bank, for the evening. And that's a lot of the times what we try to advise clients on, is if you have a dinner out with friends or a special event or whatever, you've got two options. The first option is that you stick to the plan and you make adjustments, or you go ahead and just enjoy the evening and get back at it later. And I had a little bit of both. Like, I went into the evening having enough calories to work with. And then the food choices that I had, which we had really great food. It was like brisket and sweet potatoes and some, guacamole, and there was desserts, and it was like a really good spread. There was like grilled mushrooms and some bok choy. Like, I'm really blessed with some amazing friends who actually make really good food, even some mac and cheese in there too. And I basically had almost like a little bit of everything. So really my meal was satiating and wonderful, but of course the protein content was on the lower end. And then I did indulge in some chocolates and some desserts. And so I probably went a little bit over that. Maybe I was closer, but it wasn't like astronomical, and I didn't track it. Well, it's cool. I'll show you what happened. I'll show you what happened, which I'm just so glad I can give you a true example. I'm gonna go right. So this is basically Everfit. This is how we coach our clients. That the app that they have access to. It's really great for us for communication and just how things go on a regular basis. But let's just go to the weight here, because basically what I've been doing is I have been daily weighing in daily. And so let me just go with like the last 7 days or so, because I wanted to kind of get that. It was March 21st that day. Let me see. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So here was that time frame of the calorie deficit. Like I'm going to the deficit, I'm going down, I'm trending down. Okay, cool. On that March 22nd, I had that the reading for 181.2 pounds. So my starting weight as I was into this calorie deficit was about 186 or so. So I'm basically kind of getting down to that 5 pounds already in 3 weeks, which is pretty great. So then I go and I enjoy the food, right? And I weigh myself like normal. Look, 181.2, 183.2, like literally a 2 pound difference. And what I want to highlight here is there is no way that I could have gained 2 pounds of fat in less than 24 hours. This is water weight. And it's one of those things where we have to make sure we highlight this is first off, this is the benefit of weighing on a regular basis, which I do daily. If you can mentally handle it, we do daily. And then you get the average for the week, right? So what's cool about Everfit is it gives you that weekly average. So that weekly average basically held me out to the 182.8. And currently where I'm at is right about the same, just about 0.3 pounds less so far. But it's taking a weekly average. So I had that 183, that little bump up, and then slowly but surely have just nice and gradually gone back down, continued to lose weight. And if you look at the week before that, which is this is the week before the potluck or whatever, that's nice gradual 183 down to 181. And then of course that's where that average change because of that bump up on that weekend. So that's what I was really excited to show you because this is very, very normal. And it's one reason why the scale is only part of the story. I literally had more consumption of carbohydrates. That's exactly what I did. And then on Sunday, I actually ended up not really tracking anything. I didn't go crazy, but I know for a fact my protein content was down. And that's some of my notes that I'll be speaking to is in relation to that. So even if I was somewhat hitting my calorie bank or right around it, my protein content was down, my carbohydrate content was up. Therefore, water weight happened, right? And then slowly but surely just kind of leveled out and started to go back down to 181.6. So this is a perfect, nice and steady, like it's like kind of low and slow, which is hard for people to get used to. But the fact that I've been about 3 weeks into this, right? Because I was approximately my starting point. I probably started my deficit like around March 9th because March 2nd was my birthday. So I probably started right about here. And now I'm, right within that range of where I should be when it comes to losing about a half a pound to a pound a week and feeling really, really good. Like I can already tell, even with just that 4 to 5 pound difference, that there's just a difference a little bit in my face, a little bit in my waist. Now, I haven't made the habit of taking monthly or weekly pictures or weekly measurements. I'm doing monthly measurements and monthly pictures. That's what we normally do with our clients anyways. If I had more bandwidth, maybe I could take more pictures often, but honestly, that the monthly ones are fine. So in the next couple of weeks, I'll have an updated one for monthly for the before and after pictures. But this was just really exciting for me to kind of show and tell the story. And the fact that I've kind of like, again, leveled back out. But here's also the thing that I wanted to highlight. So it's kind of like nice and slow going back to where it needs to be, right? And I don't think I have anything else I want to show here. But I guess actually I do. My average step goal has not been super, super high. I have been getting in my resistance training about 1 to 2 days a week. Like I'm still kind of a little bit scattered and I'm going to make some adjustments there. But I would probably be doing way better. Like one time I got 10,000, 7,000. It's inconsistent. Part of that being weather, part of that being time, part of that being choice. Like I'm going to own my choices here. But the reality is that I'm still slowly losing weight and I could have bumped this up a little bit more with more activity. That's a lot of the times what we like to do. I don't want to keep taking food away from you. I want to, if we're having like the scale is kind of being sluggish or slower than we anticipated, that's when we look at our movement. Also, when you get closer to your goal weight, that's where it gets harder. You have to be really, really dialed in as you're getting within that 5 to 10 pound range. And that's actually what I'm experiencing right now with a client. Like she is super, super close to kind of what that goal number is, and it is moving like molasses. And so we're making some adjustments because I don't think I want to make sure it's sustainable for her. And also I want to see if we need to focus more so on like body composition as opposed to a deficit, but also really being consistent with our numbers. Because again, the closer you get to your goal, the slower it becomes. And then there's a point where you have to say, okay, it's not about continuing to limit how much I'm eating. It's about actually like strength training and building muscle. Okay. So coming back to, I'm gonna get my notes just in front of me here. Coming back to my choices for the weekend was basically enjoying and eating good quality food, real food, delicious desserts, and just kind of, and then kind of a little lazy on Sunday. What I noticed was as I was decreasing my protein, like the protein, I became way more snacky. So in the first couple of weeks, I was noticing like, oh, I'm feeling really good and all of that stuff. I was getting my fiber targets, I was getting my protein targets. And just a couple of days of like that dip down from hitting my protein targets, I was probably closer to like 90 to 100 grams of protein, which is pretty lower on the lower side for me. I definitely was like munchy. I wanted stuff. So I feel like if you're not hitting your protein targets in a calorie deficit, especially, you're going to start feeling more snacky because you have restricted how much you're eating because the goal is to create a calorie deficit so you can lose weight. So the other thing with that is taking a day off. It's a little bit harder to get back on. So if I just had that evening and then I got back out on Sunday, that would have been a little bit better of an option, but kind of being a little bit lazy on Sunday with my goals that resulted in me almost struggling on Monday to kind of get back at it. So I think if you're going to indulge in a calorie deficit in some way, like let's say you go out for a party or an anniversary or something like that, my encouragement would be do your very, very best to just have that evening freed up, whether you choose to stay on track or you choose. And when I say on track, I mean like following your targets and your goals. It's not trying to like, people overuse stuff, but, or you enjoy the evening and then just get right back at it the next day. Because if you start to kind of wean a little bit, it's pretty easy to be like, meh, and start kind of like, it's okay, I'll start again. Like I'll start Monday, but the kind of that vicious cycle that we have. So you have to kind of get back your line on the prize. The other thing I noticed, let's see, is when I started to drop off the protein, I noticed that it was easier for me to hit my calorie target. Like I was staying within my window, but when I wasn't hitting my protein target, I was feeling more snacky. And I still feel like that's where fad diets or really extreme calorie deficits fail us, is because if you're not hitting those protein targets, you are going to be risking the loss of muscle. And I don't want to lose any muscle. So I can definitely see like it is sometimes easier just to hit your calorie target, but when you're actually trying to hit your protein and fiber targets, if you miss those, it's kind of like there's this difference here. And I can see how long term it's like easier to aim for 1600 calories and not really worry about it. But those macronutrient distribution, like having enough protein, fiber, and carbs, as well as healthy fats, is really important for body composition. I'm not trying to just be a skinnier, fatter version of myself. I'm trying to be strong, lean, and muscle and rev my metabolism up. So when I hit a certain goal weight, that's where the focus goes back to, is revving up that metabolism and growing that muscle tissue. So that's where, to me, that was the reminder of like, it can be pretty easy to hit a calorie target, but if you're not getting that protein and fiber, you're going to be more snacky, you're going to be more munchy, and you're not going to build the body that you're looking for. So that was just a reminder to me to kind of continue to make sure I prioritize the protein again. Because honestly, during this calorie deficit, it's probably been closer to 130-ish grams on a regular basis, and my aim should be about 150 to 160. So that is an adjustment for a lot of people when you have to reduce how much fat and carbs you have wiggle room with, and that's where you have to kind of make some adjustments. You decide, when do I want the fruit? When do I want the English muffin? When do I want the oatmeal? Like you kind of have to, like we talked about last week, if you've seen that one, I was talking about how you kind of have to pick your fun carb source and be mindful of that. Like if I'm going to have a Cadbury cream egg, which I'm going to have, that's 150 calories and about 20 grams of carbs. So it's a significant chunk of my macronutrients being sucked, kind of sucked away for something enjoyable. but we want to make room for that stuff. In fact, I tell my ladies on a regular basis, like make a budget about 150-ish calories or so for something enjoyable because then you won't go crazy. This isn't about totally taking everything away. It's just being more strategic. Let me see if I have anything else in my notes. And I just showed you what the night off looks like. So again, that to me, I was so glad, like I kind of went into it thinking and hoping that this is what it would show you, and it did. And it did exactly what I wanted to show you. And so I feel like I'm truly having a classic successful calorie deficit. Now, one thing I will say is I am noticing energy levels are really struggling right now. And in San Antonio area, we're outside of San Antonio, it has been rainy the past couple of days. And I grew up in Oregon, so I'm very used to cloudy rain and how it just totally takes away any motivation or whatsoever. So I am feeling the fatigue. I am having a little bit of a harder time to get up in the morning, if I'm being totally transparent. I did get up this morning or yesterday morning to do my resistance training, and I will get in one more either tomorrow or Saturday. And then I'm going to make some adjustments to my training schedule. But even like walking and stuff, like it's not up to par. Like my average step count last year was probably like 8,500, which was up from the previous year, which is great. And I'm already kind of down to like 7,500-ish. So I'm still hitting my kind of bare minimums. My minimums personally are 7,000. That's kind of what we teach our clients. That just kind of shows that you've been moving and you've been doing stuff. Like usually that means I've gotten like a mile walk in and I've done some odds and ends around the house kind of thing. But if I wanted to help speed this up a little bit and maybe get a little more energy, I would be walking out there a little bit more. So that's probably some edits that I can make. And so it's very timely that we are starting a step challenge within our clients to kind of get that little fire under my tush, my little competitive nature to get my step goal. And I'm going to aim for 9,000 steps a day. So that way it just kind of like, and we usually do like weekly averages too. I always like weekly averages for weight, for your calories, and for your step goal, because some days are just up and down, right? So I think what I'll talk about next week is how would we, budget calories for those desserts and those fun things so that you can still eat have fun in your calorie deficit. There are some sacrifices you make. Yes, there are some things that you say no to. And I admit, like an A&W root beer in the afternoon can be really, really helpful, in those moments of just being like, and fiber supplements have been helpful too. When I just don't have enough calories left, fiber supplements have been super helpful. So that's the recap for week 3 in this calorie deficit. If you have any questions, let me know. You can follow me on Instagram. I've got the link in the caption there, or the show notes, or however you want to say that. And then our Facebook group, of course, always kind of throw in some pearls and some fun things in there too. But so far, good. I mean, the energy, a little low. I can feel it. I can feel it. But again, I was able to really show you water weight. Like that truly is what's happening. You cannot gain fat that quickly overnight or in a week or whatever. So be encouraged if that's something that you've seen on the scale. It will level out. You just keep going. And the fact that I'm super close to that, being under in the 170s again is really exciting and motivating. So that does help. Now, again, the scale is still just part of the story. I truly want body composition changes. I want my before and after pictures to look way more strong than they've ever looked before. But, that's going to take some time for sure. So that is all she wrote here. No editing, nothing fancy, just me coming at you, and updating you and letting you know how things are going. So thank you so much for watching. And I'm here if you need me.